Alrighty everybody, we are just hours away from the 4th episode of the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show by Deborah Chow and Joby Harold, and exactly how the confrontation between both Vader and Kenobi is going to progress in this series. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, it is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing about Disney and Lucasfilm is that they are working on over a dozen Star Wars projects, a lot of which are going to be live action, some of which will be animated. So far, I think that, we have, Tales of the Jedi and The Bad Batch as probably the better side of the animated TV shows. I'm less excited about Vision Season 2, to be honest with each and every one of you. But on top of all of this, everything that has been happening between John, George, and Dave really trying their absolute best to bring Star Wars back to its roots, to really bring Star Wars back to the way it was in the 1980s and when it came to Star Wars Legends, and how they're going to really revive a lot of those highlights and putting that into the official Disney canon. However, when it all dwindles down to actress Daisy Ridley, alright, she's been a lot more vocal lately about her stance on Star Wars, the fandom, the overall franchise, her experience working on the films. She's been a lot more vocal about that lately, and she's been actually revealing new truths about Lucasfilm, about Disney, and really giving fans a honest perspective of everything that really has happened before with episodes 7 through 9. Now, it doesn't stop there, because Daisy Ridley recently was able to talk more about her experience working for Lucasfilm and working on the set of episode 9, and exactly, what specifically went wrong at times with the sequel trilogy movies, and what Daisy Ridley felt about all of that. So, with that being said, however, with many new Star Wars stories about to be unleashed by Disney and Lucasfilm, ranging from TV shows to books and comics, both FAVREAU and Filoni are heavily involved in all of the new Star Wars projects moving ahead after their big promotions over at Lucasfilm. However, in a recent interview with Daisy Ridley, she went on to reveal more about Lucasfilm as a company that may come as a surprise to the Star Wars fans around the globe. Now, Daisy Ridley eventually went on to state, "When I was working on The Rise of Skywalker, returning from my role as Rey, I was always never surprised over how disappointed I would be through all the hard work I would put into my role, only for Kathleen Kennedy and other creatives at Lucasfilm to erase my planned scenes at last minute, or to even go as far to inform J.J. Abrams to change some of the lines in the script." Now, let me say one thing about Lucasfilm, though, is that they don't know the lore of Star Wars fully. They don't seem to understand that some of the people they hire, like writers and directors, have no idea what they are doing with the lore of the franchise. I'm not saying it's every director or writer, but it is some. I have seen people expressing concern over the Kenobi show, which I have not watched, yes, and I will be honest about that I have not seen it yet. But this is nothing new for Lucasfilm standards, to ignore some lore, to make some pretty big mistakes. I will never forget that Lucasfilm creatives, along with Kathleen Kennedy, were arguing with J.J. Abrams to hide the fact that Palpatine was a clone. They deliberately wanted to hide the fact that he was a clone and to keep it in the books specifically because they really had no idea what they were doing with Palpatine. Let me just stop right here for a second on what Daisy Ridley is saying. Now, she makes a great point here of how they kept that a big secret. They really did not want the fans to know how Palpatine really came back in episode 9. I'll never forget that. Walking out of the theater, everybody was just shaking their heads, saying, "So how did he survive? How is he back? What's the deal with that?" And people can never figure it out. And to this very day, there's a lot of casual fans that still believe the legitimate real Palpatine survived at the very end of Return of the Jedi, where in reality, he used the essence transfer technique, his spirit jumped from body to body and went into a failed clone. That's the gist of it. And that's something that Lucasfilm refused to really make something front and center with a simple one-sentence explanation that could have been done or performed by Ian McDiarmid in the actual movie. Now, obviously, Kathleen Kennedy hid that on purpose because there was a lot of unused footage of Palpatine, one of which, of course, was going to explain about all of that was erased. And Daisy Ridley makes a fair point that they don't really care about the lore. Now, when it comes on top of this, alright, She also goes on to reveal, to be honest, myself and Oscar, even John, always thought Palpatine coming back the way that he did not feel right. Yes, I know they based this on comics back in the day, and the way that this, of course, was not done right, but the fan base never really knew how Palpatine returned, which I thought was absolutely terrible. So far, I love what Johnny and Dave, Daisy Ridley's calling John Johnny, and Dave are making with those, of course, new Star Wars shows. I love what they're doing so far. They seem more authentic than ever before in comparison to the movies. When we were working on the films, there were always arguments on how the lore would be handled by the creators, where Kathleen Kennedy specifically never wanted to make certain explanations too obvious, such as the Palpatine decision, which I just explained. I just never understood that they also did not want to give Rey's parents names at all, because they weren't even quite sure if they wanted to retcon my parents as somebody else or not. This is why Episode 9 had tons of unknowns in there. Lots of unexplained stuff that could have easily been explained if J.J. Abrams was given the authority to do that. Now, working on those films, though, I had lots of fun in the back of my mind always, however. I felt bad for the fans that would never, of course, get the overall idea, and would never see that these films were just as authentic enough that matters. And that's the fans, of course, who buy the merchandise and really support this brand through thick and thin. But I love that things are improving with other creators on board for those Disney Plus shows. Now, Daisy Ridley makes another good point here, is that Lucasfilm, as she says, deliberately hides specific explanations in these movies and in the canon lore in some of the projects that Kathleen Kennedy had a lot of creative power over. And yeah, I mean, she makes a good point of how her parents never got names because they weren't really quite sure if they were going to retcon those characters or not down the road, or if they didn't want to really make those characters popular enough. It really made no sense to me either how they didn't give them names in the actual movies, nor did they give them names in the actual canon. Alright, so basically Rey's father and Rey's mother, they have no names. Now, we talked about some of the leaks of how there is going to be one project that is going to explain more about the Palpatines and how his son is currently dubbed simply as Maximus Palpatine. So it's very possible that Maximus is going to be his official name, but we'll have to wait and see. But overall, I think that everything related to what Daisy Ridley is saying here is that Lucasfilm just does not seem to care about lore. They just seem to care about, at least at the time, Star Wars, the actual label, the brand, being placed on a story to generate revenue. That's about it. But now that we have John and Dave, things are coming across as more authentic, to me at least. Mando Season 2, amazing. Mando Season 3 and 4, I think, are going to be flat out amazing as well. I know that Kenobi has a lot of criticism because there are trends of Kathleen Kennedy in there from the original Kenobi movie scripts that were inserted in there. But on top of that, moving ahead from all of this, I think that Bad Batch is going to be amazing. I think that Andor has a good shot at being very well made. And let's not forget about Mando Season 3 this February. So overall, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about all this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.